All right, good morning, councillors and all those who are present in the chambers and those watching online. I would like to declare the meeting open at 9:30 a.m, Wednesday, the 22nd of January 2025. And welcome back to a new year, everyone. I hope you had an enjoyable Christmas and New Year's season. I'd like to start by acknowledging the Quandamooka people who are the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet. I would also like to pay respects to elders past, present and future, and extend that respect to any other Indigenous Australians who are present. I'd like to remind you all that this meeting is being recorded in audio and video, as well as being live streamed online. Councillors are reminded that parliamentary privilege does not exist to this chamber as it does to state and federal parliamentarians, and you are reminded to be cognisant of this in any comments which you may make during the course of this meeting. I'd also like to remind councillors to use the microphone when speaking, and for any councillors or officers who are attending virtually to please use the mute button when not speaking. In the event of an evacuation, I'd also ask that you remain calm and follow my directions. The emergency exit is through the gallery doors on your left and down the stairwell to exit into Bloomfield Street. Public conduct during the meeting. All members of the public present at the meeting must, not without the prior approval of the chairperson, make any audio or video recording or take any photographs, remain quiet and not disrupt the meeting in any way, not bring into the meeting any signs, placards or items that may cause a hazard or interfere with any person present, be suitably dressed and turn all mobile devices to silent mode and leave the meeting to take any calls. As chairperson, it is my responsibility to warn a member of the public present at a meeting who is not complying with any of these requirements and may, with or without such warning, require the person to leave the meeting and not return for such period as the chairperson decides, and this period may include future meetings. We'll move on to agenda item number 2, leave of absence. I've not been advised of any leave of absence. While I'm here, I would also like to remind councillors to sign the attendance sheet for today's general meeting, which can be found in diligence boards, and this must be completed before the meeting concludes. Move on to agenda item number 3, which is our devotional segment, and I would like to invite Pastor Grant Cunningham from Champions Church to lead council in a brief devotional segment.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you very much, councillors, for having me here today, support staff, members of Redland City Council, representatives. I want to thank you very much for serving our city again in 2025. It's a great responsibility that each one of us have to serve our local people, and we don't take it lightly. You know, today I want to honour God for this opportunity to share a devotional word and encouragement at the start of 2025 for each one of us. I believe this word can help us shape our beautiful city, the Redlands Coast. You know, late last year, I had a couple of circumstances or situations that happened in my world. 2 close friends of mine had life-altering diseases that came upon them. One of them was a very close friend of mine, Chris, his name is. He has a son that he's left behind, Nathaniel, and his wife, Tracy, but he got cancer of the spine. And that was in early November, and December the 19th, he crossed over into eternity. And it was a life-altering moment for me. But at the same time, my great auntie Val, who was like a mother to my mum because she lost her mum when she was young. She was a mother to my mum. Her body at the age of 95 decided to stop working and shut down, and she passed on December the 23rd and went through into eternity. You know, both of these moments just before Christmas, they shook me. They shook me to the core. And as I sat there and I wondered and I pondered and I reflected on these moments just before Christmas, as I processed the loss of my friends and loved ones, I was able to reflect on their lives. And it got me thinking around this thought: what type of legacy do I want to leave upon people around and in my world? And it got me to this thought that I want to leave a legacy of life, someone that brings life into every circumstance and situation, every conversation and every moment in time. John chapter 10 verse 10 says this: "The thief does not come except to steal and to kill and to destroy. I have come that you may have life," and that is Jesus speaking, "and that you may have it more abundantly." This is a promise from the Bible for our lives, that he has come to bring life into every circumstance and every situation that we may face. My encouragement to us as the leaders of our city is, let's bring life into every circumstance in 2025. Let's bring life into every situation, every moment, and every conversation. My prayer for us, and I'm included in on this, but my prayer for us in 2025 is that God would bless us with life-giving friendships. I understand the roles that you play in our city, and I understand the roles like other ministers and other leaders in our city play, and I want to encourage us this year, let's have friendships that add value to our lives. I pray that your role as you lead our city, it can be lonely sometimes when you have people wanting decisions, where you have to make decisions for the future of our city and our people, where you have to come and people say, I need this and I need that and I need that. Your roles can become lonely from time to time. I know I have felt like that as a minister, that sometimes our roles can become lonely. But I pray that you would find life-giving friendships in 2025, that people that can stand with you in the good times and in the bad times, that people that can stand beside you in your time of sorrow and your time of joy. My second prayer for you today is that God would bless you with life-giving conversations. Proverbs chapter 8 verse 21 says this, the tongue has the power of life and death. And can I encourage us, let's be committed to life-giving conversations in 2025. I encourage all of us to bring life into every conversation. Let's not pull each other down, but let's lift each other up. Let's pump each other's tires up. Let's bring encouragement into every conversation that we walk into in 2025. And my last prayer for us today is that God would bless us with life-giving moments. Moments that can change our lives and the lives of the people around us. Moments that can change circumstances and situations. Jesus said that I have come that you may have life. And I pray that that would be a reality to every single one of us this year. Whether you believe in Jesus or not, it would become a reality that we can bring life into every circumstance, every situation, through our friendships, through the way we speak, through the way we conduct ourselves, and through life-giving moments. Can I pray for you, please? Heavenly Father, we thank you for this great city. We thank you for Redlands Coast. We thank you for the residents. We thank you, Lord God, for every person that serves within inside our city. I pray that this year in 2025 that we would find life-giving moments, life-giving conversations, Lord God, that you would help us and guide us and give us wisdom to lead this great city. I commit every single council person into your hands, and I ask, Holy Spirit, that you would be with them and that you would guide them in 2025. Amen. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. All right, we move into agenda item number 4, which is recognition of achievement. And I'd just like to mention the Redlands Coast Australia Day Awards last night. It was a fabulous community-facing event. The feedback was fantastic, and I would like to acknowledge the amazing people that we have in our community. It was a room full of wonderful people who have given so much in so many areas across our community, and it was wonderful to see a celebration of that and the recognition that those people got. Thank you to everyone that was there in support, and thank you very much to council staff. The events team did another incredible job again. And I read out a quote last night, and I think that it really epitomises the feeling that was in the room and across the broader community, and that's one that was made by Winston Churchill, who said, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." And the people in the room last night, the nominees and the award recipients, are true examples of that. So, moving on to agenda item number 5, which is receipt and confirmation of minutes. We now move into that. May I have a mover and seconder that the minutes of the general meeting held on the 18th of December 2024 be confirmed? Moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Mackenzie. I'll put the motion. Thank you, that's carried. Councillor Rendles? So thank you, that's carried unanimously. Moving to agenda item number 6, declaration of prescribed conflicts of interest and declarable conflicts of interest. Councillors are reminded of their responsibilities in relation to a councillor's prescribed conflict of interest and declarable conflict of interest at a meeting. Details of these responsibilities are also outlined in the agenda. Please be reminded that all interests need to be declared at a statutory meeting of council. This means any prescribed or declarable conflict of interest relating to an item being discussed at a non-statutory meeting needs to be declared at the general or special meeting preceding the non-statutory meeting or workshop. A potential list of items to be discussed at all non-statutory meetings are made available to councillors with each workshop agenda before the preceding general meeting so that this can be achieved. These declarations can also be made at any time throughout the meeting. And I have a conflict of interest that I may need to declare following a motion to alter the order of business under item 11. Does anyone else need to raise any conflicts of interest? Thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 7.
Can I just have clarity on that, because you said may, but there is some specific wording when declaring conflicts of interest, is that correct? Through you to the CEO or Marita?
That's correct, and that'll be raised at agenda item at the relevant agenda item later on in the meeting.
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Mackenzie, the matter is not on the agenda as yet, so the matter cannot be declared until it's voted onto the agenda.
Do we have to declare a conflict of interest to bring the item onto the agenda though?
No, there's no conflict of interest in terms of a process, which the process is to bring the agenda item onto the agenda.
Okay.
So there's no conflict there to do a process.
Okay.
But the matter may have, the discussion of the matter may have a conflict of interest.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on to agenda item number 7, matters outstanding from previous general meeting. The Acting CEO will now give an update on the matters outstanding from the previous general meetings. Thank you, Acting CEO.
Thank you, Mayor, and good morning. There are 4 matters that are outstanding from previous general meetings. The first is 7.1, the draft Birkdale Community Precinct Local Government Infrastructure Designation Consultation Report. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. Item 7.2, the indoor sports facilities planning. A report will come to a future meeting of Council. Item 7.3, the petition in terms of the request for Council to reverse full cost recovery policy for Moreton Bay Marine facilities will come to a future meeting of Council, as will item 7.4, Council's programs related to the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Act response to the notice of motion. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Agenda item number 8, mayoral minutes. There are no mayoral minutes for this meeting today. Agenda item number 9, public participation, and I have been advised that there are no public participants to address Council today. Moving on to agenda item number 10. Councillors, we have 1 petition for today's meeting, and that is 10.1 petition, Councillor Peter Mitchell. It's a request for clarification on parking signage during events at Cleveland's showgrounds. Councillor Mitchell, you're moving the motion. Can I have a seconder?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes.
Does he speak first? Seconder.
I'll.
Yep, seconder. That's seconded by Councillor Tolty, Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to ask a question when time is appropriate. It says in our petitions and presentations nil, and there was a petition that came through by email last week, and I asked a question about its acceptable nature, and I don't know if this is the same one or a different one because there's nothing listed.
Dance course, there's nothing listed.
Through you,
Thank
Chair,
you,
to
Maria.
Councillor Tolty. The petition actually came in after the agenda was printed, and that's why the petition was notified to councillors via email.
And
after
it's the same electronic petition that was sent
yes.
through? Okay, sorry, I'll check my emails and see if anyone answered my question.
All right, so moved by Councillor Mitchell, seconded by Councillor Mackenzie.
I'll need to read the petition. Thank you, Mayor. I have a petition from residents, excuse me, requesting clarity on event parking on Topatig Street, Cleveland, which is on the showgrounds fringe. It reads, to clarify who is responsible for opening the no standing signs and placing witches' hats along one side of Topatig Street, Cleveland, during an event in the showgrounds to enable residents to exit their driveways and drive up and down the street safely. I'd like to move that this petition is of an operational nature and be received and referred to the Chief Executive Officer for consideration.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Put the motion. Thank you, that's carried unanimously. All right, agenda item number 11, which is the order of business. We have a motion to alter the order of business today in order to accept a late confidential report for discussion. Can I have a mover and seconder for the late confidential item, which is Office of the Independent Assessor Referral, Suspected Conduct Breach of a Councillor, C/24/00988, be accepted to the agenda and discussed as confidential item 20.2. Moved by Councillor Colley, seconded by Councillor Mackenzie. Put the vote. And so I put the vote. Thank you, carried unanimously. All right, and I'm now declaring my conflict of interest. I have a declarable conflict of interest in item 20.2, IOIA referral, suspect conduct breach of a councillor. As I am a party to the matter, I will leave the room while this is being discussed and voted upon. Moving to agenda item number 12. Oh, sorry, Councillor Bishop.
I just wanted to ask if, now that that's been admitted, whether anyone else does need to declare. That's all I was asking. Thanks.
Yeah, do I ask the room, are there any other conflicts of interest to declare? Oh, Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. Regarding item 11, motion to alter the order of business, I would like to move that item 15.1, 0125, major amendment North East Capalaba, which is the Finucane Road, that that item be withdrawn as a report from this agenda. Thank you.
Seconder for that motion? Microphone. Thanks, Paul. Councillor Mackenzie, put the motion. Oh, sorry, questions, yes. Sorry, Councillor Mitchell.
Through the chair, I mean, there's any basis for the removal of the item, just to understand the need or the motivation to remove the item. Thanks.
Councillor Hughes.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Mitchell. As we have discussed, there are several items of concern with this report at the moment. The item is before the courts at the moment. If we leave the item lay on the table while the court process is undertaken, the report can't be changed. I can speak, I was happy to move option 3, but we may be in a better position as a council and for the residents that live in that area to let the court process go through, and the officers feel that it would be then opportune to have a look at the court process and potentially bring the report back.
Any other questions? So back to you, Councillor Mitchell.
Just further clarification, I mean, and thank you, Councillor Hughes, for that answer, but mentioned that council had suggested they'd be in a better position, whereas this is the councillor's suggestion that it's been there. So whether it's a question through to officers, is that indeed council's position, or as it was put onto the agenda, I would have thought council's position was for us to debate the matter today. So I have no problem either way. It was just I'm sure the council wasn't speaking for officers in that position, but just to clarify that point.
Thank you, Councillor Mitchell. Acting General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. So through you to Councillor Mitchell, it's really a matter for councillors to consider whether you resolve to withdraw the item. Officers have presented the report with a recommendation. Council is considering whether to withdraw the item. That really is a matter for councillors to consider. We've presented the report with a recommendation. It's for you to consider.
Thank you.
Look, I agree with the local councillor that we all had concerns, but the officers actually said in the workshop the other day that there could be implications if this was a priority local area plan, and if we did delay it, there could be implications. So I'm just concerned about actually having it withdrawn and not lay on the table to come back at a future date or anything. So I wanted to know the difference between having it withdrawn, which means basically the report's gone, to a motion which quite often we have, which is to bring it back at the next meeting, which then allows for further discussion on those points of concern.
Point of order, Madam Mayor, if I can. This is, I believe, a procedural motion, is that correct? And although broached as a question, I feel that this is actually debating the item.
I can't vote on this motion unless I have that question of implications.
I'll just seek some advice. Yeah, okay. So I've just received some advice. So we shouldn't be debating the item, but we can, so it can be withdrawn with a condition that it be brought back to council, is another alternative. Councillor Boglari.
Through you as the chair, that was my question, because usually when we have concerns on an item, we ask for it to be laid on the table until the next motion, so those concerns can be workshopped again or whatever, rather than withdrawn, which means there's no direction for council officers to bring it back. So my question was, what's the difference between withdrawing it and not having the motion changed to bring it back at the next general? Withdrawing means that, to me, it's gone.
Okay.
So I was trying to pick up that difference, please.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. Councillor Boglari, you could bring an amendment to have the report back to council.
Point of order, Chair. That would be substantially altering the motion before us, which is to defer the matter. So I would suggest that that cannot be an amendment. That would have to have this voted down and then an alternate procedural motion put.
We'll seek some.
I'm trying to clarify what I'm asking.
Yes.
Because Councillor Tolty just then said that Councillor Hughes's motion is deferring this, but it's not deferring it. It's withdrawing it. There's no mention of it bringing back, so therefore it's not being deferred. It's being withdrawn. That's why I'm asking the difference.
I would suggest that's semantics, and the councillor meant defer.
Standing orders apply, so I'll just remind everyone of that. Councillor Hughes?
I would just seek to clarify the wording I just spoke to was withdrawing as the court process goes through with the intention that it would come back. I think I did mention that, or I was being very cautious with my wording, understanding that this matter is before the courts as we speak. So once the court process has been completed, then officers could potentially bring and would bring this report back to us.
All right. So I've got some advice. So we do have a live motion. So essentially, we do have to vote on the motion. Yeah, so we can have, so Councillor Colley, you had a question.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Question for officers. Given there is some ongoing legal process, mediation or courts, could you firstly confirm what the process is that is underway now, and then at the conclusion of that process, is it likely that the report to be presented to council may be different?
That's not speaking to the item, I'm sorry,
No,
Mayor.
sorry, Councillor Colley, that's not speaking to this.
Well, I feel that it's relevant to whether we withdraw or it's presented the same motion and the same report at a later meeting.
May I raise a matter, Mayor?
Just give me a second, thank you.
We've got a question there.
It's not a question.
It's a question.
All right, so some clarity. If it's deferred or it lies on the table, it comes back exactly the same, so it cannot be changed. So, yeah, withdrawing it is obviously the alternative.
Is it not
I
correct?
feel that that's relevant in this instance because there is an ongoing process which may alter the contents of a report that is presented to council. So that my question stands to officers.
Could our organisation services?
Acting General Manager, can you answer that question?
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Councillor Colley. So I won't talk to the appeal proceedings because they're confidential matters. It is possible that the appeal outcome may change the content of the report. We don't know, but it's potentially possible. If it's withdrawn and there are changes required post-appeal, then of course we would make those changes.
Councillor Bishop.
I seek, if I may, officer guidance through the chair about the need to proceed with this at this time. I believe that understanding the discussions we've had, that is a matter of significance, and I'd like to ask officers if their view is that proceeding would be in the interest of the matter.
Thank you, Councillor Bishop. Acting General Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to Councillor Bishop. So there is an appeal on foot. That appeal is based upon reasons for refusal by council that were based upon the current planning scheme. So the appeal is proceeding on that basis. Refusal against the current planning scheme, the amendment and potential TLPI were not reasons for refusal in the appeal, and it will proceed on that basis.
Thank you, Councillor Bishop.
Further clarification, is there a timing matter that would be substantive for council that we would need to be apprised of at this point if we were to decide to withdraw?
No, Councillor, we don't know exactly how long the appeal may take to resolve, so that's to be determined.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Mitchell.
Through you to probably someone in the legal team. The report is on the agenda and it's in public. The court matter, I would suggest, is meant to be agnostic and separate to it. But are just feeling uncomfortable that there could be a perception of a trying, and it has been mentioned by the local councillor, the court process. So is there any concern around the perception of withdrawing a report that is already in the public arena on a live court matter?
Through you, Mayor.
Thank you, Legal Officer. Yes.
Councillor Mitchell. With respect to the appeal, it is separate to the whole process of the TLPI and the major amendment package. As
my colleague has suggested, that the appeal is running on the current city plan provisions and will be assessed under those provisions, and those discussions are taking place based on the current city plan.
Thank you, Claire. Any other questions? No? All right, I now put the motion. Everyone's right? Yes? To withdraw item number 15.1. So those in favour? So Councillor Golay, Councillor Rendles, Councillor Tolte, Councillor Mackenzie, Councillor Hughes, Councillor Colley. Those against? Councillor Boglari, Councillor Mitchell, Councillor Hewlett, Councillor Bishop and myself. So that was carried. That item is withdrawn. All right, we're moving on to agenda item number 12, which is reports to council. There are no reports from the Office of the CEO. Agenda item number 13, reports from organisational services. And at item number 13.1, do I have a mover for the December 2024 monthly financial report? Moved by Councillor Bishop, seconded by Councillor Boglari. Councillor Bishop, would you like to speak to the motion?
I'd just like to acknowledge the welcome back to officers, and I'd like to acknowledge the good work happening in that department, and maybe if I could, through the chair, just defer to the Chief Financial Officer for a quick update. But thank you.
Thank you, Chief Financial Officer.
Thank you, and through you, Chair, thank you, Councillor Bishop, for the opportunity to talk to the December monthly financial reports, which represent both that midway point for the financial year, as well as reflecting the recent budget review we adopted in December. Overall, I'll note that there are no new key drivers behind the results in front of us today to those that we've discussed in previous months. In reference to the key financial highlights table, which is in section 1 on page 25, we can see the favourable status for both capital works and short-term investments. With regards to the unfavourable variance to budget for the year-to-date results, Council's operating position, this remains mainly due to the depreciation, which we continue to monitor closely. We also continue to see the water consumption impacting both the recurrent revenue and expenditure equally, but this means it has a net nil overall financial impact to our results. Looking specifically at the recurrent revenue and expenditure lines, we can see the unfavourable year-to-date variance to budget is quite immaterial at 1%, and in fact the actual expenditure variance before it's rounded is 0.5%. This does reflect the hard work from officers in forecasting the timing of revenue and expenses of this recurrent nature. The closing cash and cash equivalents variance continues to reflect the complexity in forecasting cash inflows and outflows, and this does remain a timing matter. Lastly, in moving to section 2, the key performance indicators on page 25, we continue to meet or exceed all of the measures except the asset sustainability ratio, and this again continues to reflect the mix of works, capital works delivered year to date. Officers remain confident that the measure will be achieved by the end of financial year. Thank you, and invite any questions.
Thank you. Moving back, I guess, are there any speakers against? No? Are there any questions? No? All right, I've put the motion. Those in favour? Thank you, that's carried unanimously. Moving to agenda item number 14, advocacy major projects and economic development, and there are no reports this month. Moving to agenda item number 15.1, which has now been withdrawn. Agenda item number 15.2, which is Jones Road to Old Cleveland Road Draft Local Area Plan. Do I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Moved by Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Boglari. Councillor Hughes, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, yes. And just in moving the motion, the reports there, the officer recommendation, as we see that the council resolves to undertake a preliminary phase, so I really want to emphasise that word preliminary to our community, phase non-statutory public consultation on the Jones Road to Old Cleveland Road local area plan scenarios. You can see in the report there in attachment 5 for a minimum period of 25 days. And I think just for clarity and the very topical conversation out there in the community is this site encompasses the proposed Bunnings on the corner, which is got a long 20-odd year history. So for anyone trying to understand where that actually is in Capalaba, just have a quick look there. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any speakers against? Are there any questions? Councillor Bishop.
Yes, thank you, and thank you to officers for what is for us a relatively new local area planning process, which council's recently adopted. And it's good to see these, and good to see the report, which is the local area plan itself. I have a couple of questions, and one just relates to the western boundary, and just to see what we can possibly do. There is it adjoins a very natural habitat there, and so just a question about, is there any further buffering that might be possible, and in particular on that northwest corner which adjoins the Birkdale community precinct?
Point of order. I don't believe the council is speaking to the motion. This is about consultation. It's not about the proposed plan.
It's about the buffering and whether there's potential for inclusion of increased buffering.
The motion before us is about public consultation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about what the public consultation is about. It's about whether we engage in the public consultation or we don't.
Thank you, Councillor Colley. I agree in this point.
Okay, if I can move on to another question, which actually it's referred to in the H21 report, which is the Water Supply and Sewerage Network Capacity Assessment. Just wondering, in terms of timing, it suggests that council does need to...
Point of order.
Thank you, Councillor Colley. If we can stick to questions related specifically to the motion before us.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if the wider sewage treatment plant upgrade strategy will be completed before we commence.
Point of order.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. I agree.
Speaking
Same
to
thing.
the
Councillor is persisting in questioning against your ruling.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bishop. So, any other questions in relation to this motion? No. Councillor Hughes, did you have anything further to say?
No, thank you.
All right, I put the motion. Those in favour? Thank you. Carried unanimously. Agenda item number 16, reports from infrastructure and operations. There are no reports this month. Agenda item number 17, notices of intention to repeal or amend resolutions. I've not been advised of any notices of intention to repeal or amend a resolution. Agenda item number 18, notices of motion. I've not been advised of any notices of motion from councillors. Agenda item number 17, which is urgent business. I'm not aware of any urgent business. Which brings us to agenda item number 20, confidential items. So we are now moving into the confidential portion of our agenda in accordance with section 254J of the Local Government Regulation 2012. To discuss the matters listed on the agenda, we must move into closed session. Can I have a mover and seconder that the meeting moves now into closed session?
Through the chair, is there a need to go into confidential?
If I may, just a point of clarification. In regard to the agenda item which is being added to the agenda, does that need to be discussed and under confidential? And at what stage would we go into confidential? Should we do the two together? That's just a process question.
So it's a matter for council if this goes into confidential or not. So no need to? right, then we move on to agenda item number 20.1, Kinross Road. Yep. So agenda item 20.1, Kinross Road Stage 2 Wastewater Gravity Main Upgrade Project Delivery. Do I have a mover for the officer's recommendation? Moved by Councillor Mackenzie, seconded by Councillor Tolte. Councillor Mackenzie, was it? Do you have? Sorry, it's confidential, that's right, sorry, yep. So I put the motion. Thank you, carried unanimously. All right, which takes us to agenda item number 20.2, and I shall now leave the room. Deputy Mayor, you can chair. And then I'll come back in at the end.
Thank you, councillors. With that, I put item 20.2. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved Councillor Mitchell, seconded Councillor Mackenzie. Those in favour? That is Councillor Boglari, Councillor Mitchell, Councillor Golle, Councillor Hewlett, Councillor Rendels, Councillor Talty, Councillor Mackenzie, Councillor Hughes, Councillor Collet and Councillor Bishop. That is passed unanimously, and we can call the Mayor back into the room now. Thank you.
All right, that concludes the first meeting for 2025. Thank you, everyone. I think that was the fastest meeting certainly I've attended. Councillors, please ensure your attendance has been logged in diligent boards, and I now declare the meeting closed at 10:13 on the 22nd of January 2025.